Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today I wanted to do a reaction to the new episode of Inside Star Citizen. As you can see there right behind me, we have Jared, and this was a pretty good video. I've already seen it, but I kind of just wanted to do a little breakdown and walk through. I kind of just like skimmed through it, kind of glanced through it, but I want to do like a deep dive video today, kind of talking about the new Lorville updates. I did a video a little while ago talking about Lorville and kind of like what I wanted to see from the update. Well, not really what I wanted to see from the update, but it was just kind of like a reimagining of Lorville and how cities could be and how cities could work. And it was a pretty fun video to do, so I wanted to kind of compare and contrast, talk about the new update, and see how Lorville is with you guys. So if you want to, hang out and check out the new Inside Star Citizen, stick around. I'm going to say right off the top, if you like this video, hit like. If you want to subscribe to his channel and see more, hit subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into the video.
Only the derelicts and shanty towns that we saw, but our landing zones like Lorville. Now, we first spoke of the upcoming changes to Lorville in a Journey to 4.0 segment at CitizenCon 2952. But while we had the folks in town, we thought it'd be worth checking in on the team's progress while they were here. Progress that's, quite frankly, going so well, we're starting to think this new version of our oldest landing zone might just arrive a little sooner than expected.
Jared, I don't know if you should have said that. Okay. Now, they're talking about this happening in 319. So that's going to be interesting. I don't know when 319 is going to drop. They haven't updated the roadmap to talk about 319. Usually they go a patch out. So now that 318 is kind of like nailed down, we know what's going to be in 318. There really isn't any surprises. Fairly soon here, they should start talking about what's supposed to be in 319 anyway. But I mean, ultimately they might have like an 18.1 or something like that patch, and they might add some different content in that. But realistically, I think if they're redoing Lorville, I honestly think they should save that for 319. I don't think they should try to pack more stuff in like a 318.x or whatever. I think they should just leave it for 319. Just to give the community some time to kind of digest everything that's going to be in 318, and also to just kind of like put the content into like different chunks. Ultimately, I think this Lorville update is not really going to be that game changing. I think it's just like mostly a visual thing and something for scaling, because the problem with Lorville before was that the buildings were too small for interiors. They weren't scaled properly. Like, it was a visually good looking city. Like right now, if you go and you visit Lorville, it's a great looking city, and you don't think that things aren't scaled properly. But when you get closer, which the city doesn't really let you do, like the autopilot immediately turns you around. So, and that's one of the reasons, because the buildings weren't scaled right. And again, I don't know why they did that in the first place. Maybe it was for performance reasons, but now they can actually have the city to scale. Now they can have it with building interiors, and they're going to talk about a little bit of that in this video. So let's keep going.
Since the last time we talked about Lorville 2.0.
Okay, so let's look at this. So this is what we have right here, and you can kind of see the Houston Dynamics building now has a holographic sign on top, and there's a little bit more, lighting to certain buildings. I like that. Now, a big thing that a lot of people talked about is that they didn't like that so many of the other buildings were essentially so big in comparison to the Houston Dynamics building. A lot of people used to really enjoy how like big and imposing the Houston Dynamics building was, in contrast to the other buildings in the city. Now, the Houston Dynamics building is still massive. Like, you can see it, towering above everything else, but it is like, in comparison, they're a lot more like reasonably sized buildings to it. Now, realistically, I don't have a huge problem with the other buildings being closer in size to the Houston Dynamics building, and it's one of the reasons why they had to redo the city in the first place, is because the other buildings were just too small. They could have made the Houston Dynamics building even bigger, but realistically, I don't think that's necessary. I think this new skyline is just something that we're going to have to get used to. I think it looks fine, personally. But it is a very different skyline. Like, you're looking at this picture, it's not what we're used to, but it's not a bad skyline. Again, the Houston Dynamics building is still very imposing. It's still much larger than everything else there, and I do like that they added the holographic HD logo on top of the building. If you were going to land in at Lorville, you would immediately see this and be like, okay, yeah, I know exactly where I am. And a lot of times, these landmark locations really define cities and stars, in my opinion. You look at the Nest Apartments building in Microtech. Austin doesn't really have landmark buildings like that. I guess the spider shaped spaceport is the most recognizable thing in Austin, because you have to get pretty close to see the statue of the whale. There really isn't a skyline. I mean, you know kind of what Austin looks like. It has a very defined design language, but there isn't that skyline where there are buildings like the New York skyline or Shanghai skyline or the Tokyo skyline. You really know what those buildings are. The stand-up buildings are like Dubai. You have the Burj Khalifa. Those are standout buildings, and so when you look at the skyline of those cities, it's instantly recognizable. And Houston, Lorville is one of those cities. So I think they still did a good job of interpreting that. It is a very good looking skyline, but let's continue.
A lot of things have changed. It has evolved. The key element that changed is
so this is pretty dense. To me, this seems more dense than it is now. Again, it's one of those things that is gonna take some getting used to, because these are very large buildings in comparison to the Houston Dynamics building. I think it would have been better if they kind of spread the buildings out a little bit more. It seems like these other buildings are very close to the Houston Dynamics building. Maybe if they were a little bit further away, the Houston Dynamics building would stand out even more. But it looks okay. I also think the colors are a little bit different. Like, I think they should make the gold on the Houston Dynamics building stand out a little bit more. I think maybe it's the lighting, because the sun is facing the other buildings, but you could see the gold on the other buildings a little bit better than you can see the gold on the HD building. And I think they should make the gold on the HD building stand out a little bit better. So maybe they might need the lighting team to kind of go through and do another pass to kind of make that gold pop a little bit more, kind of make the colors a little bit darker too. Right now, everything just kind of seems like the same color. Everything kind of just looks like that maroony brown color, kind of blends in with the background too much. I kind of want to see the buildings look a little bit darker, a little bit, have a little bit more black in there. Right now the buildings look, they look very like cherry red or something like that. I don't know. The buildings don't look as like before. It was more black and gold, and I don't know, the colors seem kind of off in this. Again, this isn't final art, this is just getting close to it, but I feel like, yeah, the colors might need to be adjusted just slightly.
The detail level of all the elements.
Now this looks pretty good too. Again, I like the holograph of the HD on top of the HD building. You can see the tram lines a lot better here, and that's nice. Right now the tram lines are not very noticeable when you're flying in, And I don't know, it just kind of makes it feel like you can if you can see the roads better, if you can see the tram lines better, it feels more like a real city.
Elements, and I explicitly like to mention the buildings. So there's details that really.
This is pretty good too. It seems like they've got the window textures, the new window textures in Lorville now too, and that's a big thing that recently came to ArchCorp and Microtech, and that's made a huge difference. And when you drive by real buildings in cities, it basically looks like that. Now we know there's nothing going on in the rooms with those window textures, but it really does look like that in real life when you look inside of a building. I think they have like a parallax effect, so when you fly past the window, you can see the room inside the window from a different angle. It's a pretty cool effect. I think they did a pretty good job with it, and it's going to be a welcome addition to the new
enhances the building believability. All the industrial outskirts really give the impression of a scale.
So I guess, yeah, this is the industrial area. It's, again, pretty good standard industrial looking area. You could kind of see more of the pollution though. I think that's a pretty good thing, because the rest of the planet, well, a large portion of Houston is just covered in trash and pollution. So kind of tying that into the city, I think is pretty good law wise. So we can kind of see like who's making all of this trash, who's like how could a city get to the point where they could turn the whole planet into trash? So it's like, who is creating all of this trash that you would just throw it everywhere? Like, I would really love for them to go into that into more detail. Why does Houston just throw their trash all over their planet? Why do they need to do that? Is this scrap? Is it like how India handles trash, where they have the people kind of go through it and sort it, and or they have the people like it would be like maybe CIG has a law reason to why the trash is everywhere on the planet, but it would be cool if they kind of iterate that in the city design. Like maybe there's roads that go out there to throw the trash. Maybe there's like underground tram lines that stem from this like manufacturing area. So like you have this manufacturing area, and then you have like a tram line that goes from this manufacturing area out through the fields of trash and just like dumps it at the end. It's like an NPC train just like shows up, dumps trash, and then goes back into city. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Of the city, it will be iconic. Our materials are much more closer to a final look.
Yeah, this looks pretty cool. You can see like cranes on tops of buildings just like being built like how you see in cities. They're always making new buildings in cities, so that's pretty realistic looking.
We were going to a path of adding more tints and variety in color to the buildings and the surrounding structures, as well as adding a lot of emissives throughout the city.
This guy's really cool, man. I seen him. He did a long talk on doing CitizenCon, and he came on and he talked after. I think it was on Star Citizen Live. I don't think it was on another Inside Star Citizen. I think in general, the environment team, they're doing a really good job making buildings and all that stuff. Hats off to those guys. They're doing a really good job. Designing cities and outposts and just like turning it out relatively fast too. I mean, I feel like most of the content they talk about, they released like within a year. So really the locations teams, the people who are making environments, they're knocking it out of the park right now, in my opinion.
And that gives like a good impression of the day and
this. So yeah, you know what, I don't know, like I feel like the colors are still kind of off. I want the city to look a little bit darker. Everything just kind of like one shade, one color, and yeah, you have it's like more maroon or brownish color. It's not as dark as black. I don't know. It looks good. Like I like the way it looks, but maybe it's because it's not final art. Maybe they'll do another pass to darken up the buildings. Another thing that I have to say is, I don't know. I feel like there should be more windows. Like a lot of these buildings look very blocky. There's not a lot of glass. Houston is a planet that has a breathable atmosphere, so there's no, like, I kind of understand from microtech's standpoint, because it's very cold outside. If you have a lot of windows, you have to make sure all the windows seal well, or otherwise you're letting out all the heat. Kind of the same thing with Orson. You know, Orson is very high in the clouds. I mean, it's a gas giant. But there's a ton of windows in both those cities. Same thing with ArchCorp. I don't understand why buildings in Lorville have so little windows. Like, you look at these buildings, like this building right here. This is where am to my mouse cursor? Yeah, like this building right here, if you can see it, it's massive. This is a massive building, and it's got like 50 windows. That doesn't make any sense. I feel like definitely they should definitely, like this building right here. This building has like no windows. And this building, again, this isn't final art. Maybe they'll add in more windows in some of these buildings, but I would say the color of the buildings need to be a little bit darker, and more windows. Yeah.
The night cycle.
It looks great.
The branding
night,
is very Hurston family centric.
Oh, okay. This is a good angle too. Wow. Yeah, that looks good. I think, well, let me go back to, where was it? The nighttime
Of the day and the night cycle.
Yeah, at night. What I like about this, again, there's a lot of lights, a lot of windows. Again, you could add more windows without adding more lights. It's just some rooms won't be lit up. But what I like here is you could kind of see some landing pads here. I don't know. Maybe you might be able to land in some of these buildings. That would be very cool. If you could just, go. I know a lot of these buildings are going to have landing pads on the roofs, kind of like ArchCorp and Microtech. But if you have like lower landing pad areas, like maybe garage entrances, I know there are a lot of, places so you can drive around outside, but, maybe you can land here and do different things, different missions. I know that they're working on building interiors, mission content in cities. I also really like that the tram lines are different color. Like I was saying earlier, being able to see roads and train lines in cities, it makes it look more believable like a city, because a city is not just buildings. You have to get to these buildings. So again, seeing all these roads and all these tram lines really kind of sells it more as a city at nighttime, I think.
The branding is very...
I also, to go back for a second again, sorry I'm stopping so much. I also like these big, like light pockets. You see that in real cities a lot too, where there's like large sources of lights and there's like darker areas. And a lot of the roads are usually the brightest parts of a city. So, roads down here is just, pockets of lights all around the city here. So you don't only just see the buildings and the lights from the windows, but you also see the lights from the roads, lights from the trains, lights from, different things that are happening around the city. I like that.
The branding is very Hurston family centric.
And I love this view. This is a really cool view where you can see here the streets and then the street signs, and then there's more of a tunnel here, and then you have these buildings on the edge of this I don't even know what this is, and then you have these kind of these leaned over. This is very sci-fi, very cool looking, and I guess these are landing pads, places where players can go. I hope you can fly to all of this. Yeah, buildings. You know how many people are going to try to fly to that building? Everyone's going to try
to list in a way.
Very cool too. Wow, yeah. So you can see more of the tram lines here. I like the blue light. It's a good contrast because you have a lot of this red color and a lot of gold. But again, I feel like this red color, feel like they should go a little bit darker, less red, a little bit more black. It's just too much of the same palette, you know. Houston, the buildings are just, they're a little bit darker. They're not this red. But again, you can see roads here. I guess these roads are going into tunnels. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, but it looks like street signs. Interesting.
Yeah, it will be iconic.
And we have more of the like outskirts area. Again, I'm hoping, what I said in my other video is that CIG should really make cargo locations in places like these to kind of take the traffic off of the spaceports, because the biggest problem with silver meshing is gonna be logistics. If I have a hull C or a hull E, first of all, I can't even land at a landing port, but let's say I have a C2, right? And it's got 500 SU of cargo in there, and I have to manually offload that or wait in some kind of timer. That hangar is just out of commission. You either have to make it like an instance hangars, or you're gonna have to add more hangars to spaceports. And a good way to offload a lot of that traffic is to just make like a industrial spaceport. Like the spaceports we have, like Tisa Spaceport is for commercial flights and for, you know, regular people. But then you have like a manufacturing and trading spaceport that is for like shipping containers and larger ships that have a lot more volume. And so I feel like places like this would be a perfect place for a cargo mission. Let's say Houston Dynamics needs to move 250 SUs of cargo. It's going to take a long time to load up and offload, and you can land at a place like this and take all the time you need to load up and offload and do whatever you got to do and then leave, because regular people won't be going to this location. This would be a trading spaceport, kind of like how you have airports for passengers, and then you have airports for like some cargo planes, and then you have harbors, big docks for carrier large cargo carrier ships. And imagine if let's say a big city, like I live in Tampa Bay, let's say a big city like Tampa only had, one airport. There's no way. We have a big shipping port, we have several airports. And a big city like that would need several airports. They would need several places where you can land and do cargo and do all that stuff. So let's
process of going from first pass into final. Sometimes we have to break a bit of stuff because cool as we're finding out the correct scale of the buildings, validate how it looks and how it works together, and we realize certain things need to be aligned differently. We have to go into and remove some.
Yeah, I don't know what these things are, but they look pretty cool. I don't know what kind of content, maybe they're just more statue like structures, kind of like emulating the Houston Dynamics building, because the Houston Dynamics building is kind of leaned over like this. It's kind of slanting, and I like this structure here. It's like a building under construction. Again, you can see more roads.
Some buildings or rearrange some neighborhoods to make them fit together in a more cohesive way. There's things beyond like the new buildings. There's new pathways, there's the trenches, there's some tunnels as well going into like.
Yeah, this is gonna be cool, man. Flying low to the buildings here.
Like, those pyramid shapes that comes from Eric's concept, and we've added tunnels to those. There's cranes, and they create an opportunity to fly under them, flowing from the outside of the city to the inside, and pipelines. And there's a way of finding your way into Lorville with all these things that we've added, and it has like a really fun structure, easy ways to find where you're
down,
really fun
Yeah, look at the traffic here. That's cool. That's like ArchCorp. You know, when you go from the spaceport to the like Area 18. I mean, when you go from the spaceport to the like downtown city center. I like this the high traffic roads here.
We're adding more landing pads, especially on the building rooftops. They create
Yeah, that's cool too. Yeah, again, it's like ArchCorp. Looks cool.
opportunities for gameplay, for pickup missions, and for the future of building interiors as well, or just simple mission types of stuff to do on the rooftops. The city is quite expanded, so it's extending much further in terms of like the industrial areas that we're adding to the outreach of the city, the outskirts. They feel like they have a purpose.
Yeah, wow, look at that. All the cargo containers and the infrastructure. You got the cranes there to move the cargo containers. Looks like we've got landing pads over here. Very cool stuff.
They have like quarries, they have like the pipelines, they have like industry or manufacturing. They lead up to the city. It feels functional. There's like smokestacks, activity going on with cranes, and it makes like a fun layout. We've experimented with moving L19 or the CBD or the spaceport in relationship to each other. In the end, we barely moved them. Only moved like the spaceport slightly, like a few hundred meters. That's not a lot in the whole scale of the city. What you'll see from the vistas from those places is going to be really a big positive change, I think. And it's still something we're tweaking and working on because we really want to make those work like key shots, basically. For
Okay, that's pretty cool. I'm not sure where this is, but yeah.
those vistas. Travel through the city is not changing other than the fact that the transit to the gates will be a bit extended, but the view.
Oh, that's the only thing that I feel like is kind of annoying that they shouldn't do. Okay, so when I reconcepted the city, I said that they should make one ground exit from the spaceport, like kind of like New Babbage. When you go to the spaceport, you can leave to the ground exit, you know. And it's the same thing when you're there. There is a ground exit when you're in the city too. When you're you know, in the main area. And that is super convenient. A lot of people like New Babbage because of that. You can instantly go from the spaceport to the ground, to outside. Basically, the advantage of that is you could store your ship, or you could get a ship out and you can put a ground vehicle in it. If you have to take a long train to the gates, it's kind of a pain in the butt to load up a ground vehicle. And so it would be more convenient. I mean, eventually, I think they want to make it so that you can call a ship with a vehicle inside of it. But it is fun to kind of load it up yourself, to interact with the game in that way. And I feel like it would just make more sense if you had one tram line going from the spaceport to a ground exit that's just close by. And so if people wanted to take the train to go to the exterior gates, they could. But if they just wanted to, you know, go outside and drive around, they could just take one train to you know, the ground area. This going from the spaceport to the train terminal, then to the gates. I don't know, I feel like it makes people not want to use the gates and the ground exits around Lorville. And making it longer, I don't think that solves that. I think that's kind of an interesting choice. Again, I'm not going to knock it until I play it, but I would have really liked to see them move the spaceport kind of closer to the edge of the city, where you can get to the ground entrance easier, and then just, you know, take one train to the Habs or one train to the trading area, and I don't know. Transportation in Lorville is just like always kind of like, it's the worst part of the city, honestly. And if you're gonna redesign the city, you might as well make it better. So we'll see.
View from the transit will be a lot different in a good way, less repeated. You feel more like you're in a real city, and we'll take like a special care along like the path of the train.
It does look good. That's cool.
The key
Big
to
change.
changing Lorville is the opportunity to have like a whole city built to scale, so that we can fly in and there's no zones that are blocked to the player. Different viewpoints throughout the city where we can land, and it's preparing also the ground for the future
That looks great.
updates,
That looks
like
awesome.
the
That's so
building
cool.
interiors, because the original buildings in Lorville were much too small to have buildings and building interiors in the future.
Yeah.
And you're gonna hear more about the building interiors in a few weeks.
Okay, that's good. It's good to hear. So I guess building interiors are gonna come to the newer city locations first. But that just leaves ArchCorp. I don't know what they're gonna do about ArchCorp, because that's like a different planetary tech. It's gonna be interesting because, like, again, what I said in some of my other videos is that Stanton is far from done. And ArchCorp is going to be a big one. I mean, ArchCorp still needs its clouds. ArchCorp is supposed to have water on it. ArchCorp is supposed to have space stations around the other cities, Area 6, Area 4, the other major cities on the planet. And those other cities are probably supposed to get built out as landing zones in themselves. So, I mean, I don't think CIG is gonna do like all 20 areas on Area 18 on ArchCorp. They might do like 5 or 6 main cities on ArchCorp. Again, we have Area 18 now, but it's supposed to have more city landing zones and more space stations in geosynchronous orbit around those cities, and then of course water, and then of course clouds. So right now, ArchCorp's a real beast. I think right now they're just ignoring it, like it's on the back burner. It's not a major priority. It really isn't a major priority, but it just illustration of how much stuff still has to go into Stanton before Stanton is actually considered done. It's not just the air and halo. It's not just the fact that the planets don't orbit Stanton yet. It's not the fact that there's seasons yet. It's not the fact that clouds don't move yet. It's not the fact that we don't have rain. Yeah. And building out this tech in Stanton is gonna, that tech is gonna trickle down to the other star systems as well. So when Stanton gets moving clouds and rain and seasons and orbiting planets, then Pyro and Nyx and Odin and all those places will too. So yeah, Stanton's still got a lot of work that's gonna get done, and in the next couple of years we're gonna keep seeing it. I do want to make a video talking about the next star systems that I think we're gonna get, and kind of what I think 2023 is gonna look like for the game. So stay tuned for that video. I'm gonna link this video in the video description below so you guys can check out ISC. Again, they were talking about the derelicts and modular outposts and stuff. I kind of just skip that because it's basically what we've already seen with what they can do. The team is very, they're good at the job. I think they're doing a great job. So you guys could watch this ISC on your own if you're interested. Again, this is a pretty long video. I took a 15-minute video and turned it into like a half an hour, and we probably watched like 5 minutes of it. So let's finish this off. We're almost done with this video. Let's see what the rest of us talking about.
So, what did we learn this week? We learned.
It's so perfect timing. That's the end of the video. So yeah, again, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you guys think of the new Lorville? Do you guys think it looks cool? Do you guys think it's better than my reconceptioning of Lorville. Do you guys think that, you know, CIG should, you know, take some of my advice and make Lorville like, you know, what we outlined? Do you guys, are you like excited for more cities? Are you guys excited for building tiers? Are you guys excited for 319, 318? Anything you want to talk about, let me know in the comments down below. I love hearing from you guys. So that's it for this video. If you guys liked it, hit like. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. See you next time. Salute.